Donald Trump is having a catastrophic Friday. He is puttering around the grounds of the White House with Natalie Harp, his human printer. Some people refer to her as something else. And Donald Trump called up the New York Post and said, "I hereby demand Iran agree to a ceasefire. I am hereby demanding it, or else there will be a price to pay." He's so utterly desperate as he looks at the columns of the White House, shouting, "I demand Iran make a deal with me." Well, Iran responded. This was Iran's response actually last night in Erbil, Iraq, an Iranian Shahid drone striking U.S. interests in Erbil. Let's play this clip. And now the IRGC from Iran are fact-checking CENTCOM. This is what IRGC posted. Fact check. First claim, CENTCOM falsely states that traffic is ongoing in the Strait of Hormuz and that shipping companies can pass through the Strait of Hormuz without issue and with American escort. Fact, the Strait of Hormuz is closed and any passage will only be possible with coordination from the IRGC Navy. And the IRGC posted this video of it striking and after stopping 2 oil tankers and 4 other tankers turned back, trying once again to use that southern route that the U.S. is telling tankers to use in the Strait of Hormuz. And let me just show you the video that the IRGC posted. And they added that all shipping and insurance companies ignore CENTCOM's announcement. We control the Strait of Hormuz. Look what we just did again. You try to move tankers through the strait, we will blow them up. Here's the video that the IRGC just released. Now, as Donald Trump is flailing and saying, "Please make a deal with me, Iran. Please make a deal with me, Iran." So the United States just blocked that Qatari liquefied natural gas tanker that we were talking about yesterday that coordinated with Pakistan and Iran to use the IRGC route because the U.S. route is not safe. And so the U.S. blocked this Qatari LNG and said, use our route. But if you use the U.S. route, Iran destroys your tanker. What a mess. How utterly pathetic Donald Trump is. So now, Netanyahu just left the United States, but while he was there with Hegseth and Rubio and Donald Trump, and Netanyahu was there for multiple days, he wouldn't leave. The U.S. and Israel had a new plot. Okay, maybe our naval blockade isn't working. Maybe we'll do a land blockade, and let's persuade Iraq, Pakistan, Turkey, Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Armenia, and Azerbaijan to help us, and we can do a land blockade against Iran, limiting Iran's imports and exports. Really, as Israel continues to threaten Turkey. By the way, you think Pakistan is going to get involved in this as the mediator? They're going to agree to blockade Iran. You think Iraq is going to get involved? Did you see the Ayatollah's funeral where you had tens of millions of Shiite mourners there? And you just saw the video I showed you of the Iranian Shahids striking in Erbil. Again, this is Donald Trump flailing. This is Donald Trump showing once again how pathetic he is. Speaking about how pathetic he is. So now he sends his stooge, Kevin Hassett, his national economic advisor, to go on state regime media with Maria Bartiromo. Now, Hassett had been promising that right now, our GDP would be 4% year over year. Howard Lutnick actually said it was going to be 6%. Well, yesterday it came in at 1.5%. Very sluggish growth, and the American economy is doing horrible. So Maria Bartiromo from State Regime Media goes and asks Hassett, so last time we spoke, you said you were expecting 4% GDP growth. So What do you think about the current economic condition? And Hassett's like, oh, no, this is 4%. The bottom line number is, he goes, the bottom line number is actually 4%. The top line, yeah, that may be 1.5%. But you see, it was dragged down by all these other supply. He just starts saying like economic words. Supply, demand, curves, lots of things were happening, and investments, and don't worry, success is right around the corner. Don't you worry. Here, play this clip.
Worries over inflation. Yesterday, the GDP was slower than expected. Last time we spoke, you told me you were expecting 4% growth in the second half of the year. We got a growth number yesterday, but it was way lower than people expected. How would you assess the macro story today?
Right. Well, I think that what we were looking at when you and I talked last was the really surging domestic demand. And so final sales within the U.S. were about 4%, actually, almost exactly the number we talked about, 3.9%. And the reason why the top line number was 1.5 was that we imported so many capital goods because we're building factories so fast that the number was different than we expected by a little bit. And the bottom line, though, is that if you look at that, so the huge surge in capital spending, which means there's downward pressure on inflation because there's upward pressure on supply, plus CPI and PCE, those two reports were about as good as you could ever hope to see if you were a Federal Reserve governor, then it means that the economy is really running on all cylinders.
Now, this is the ultimate bait and switch that Trump and all con artists in history do. So I want you to pay very close attention to what I'm about to show you, because this is what we've been warning about, right? What does a con artist do? Success is right around the corner. Just you wait. 2025 is going to be amazing. Fourth quarter, that's our quarter. First quarter, 2026. Second quarter, third quarter. Then they run out of time, right? So then what do they need to do? They need to blame somebody. The way they blame Dr. Fauci. They need to blame something, somebody, because the con artists made a lot of money. They've grifted. Trump's made billions and billions of dollars. He's lined his pocket. These right-wing oligarchs made a ton of money while the American people suffered. So now when they destroy the economy, which they do, they go, if the Democrats win the midterms in the House, that's the biggest threat to the economy. That's what's going to destroy it all. So then what do they say in the future? We were going to make a great economic situation for everybody, but then the Democrats were the ones who screwed it up. We were right there. We were so close. We had the plans, and then the Democrats destroyed it. Watch what Hassett says. Let's play this clip.
Different. I mean, the bond market is spiking yield, and I'm just wondering if the bond market is telling us something different here. What would be your biggest economic risk if you had to look at one risk for the rest of 2026? Is it inflation? Is it labor shortages? Is it deficits? Is it the Senate not getting the president's agenda across the finish line? What would it be, Kevin, in terms of the biggest risk to continued economic growth from your standpoint?
You know, I think the biggest risk facing the U.S. economy right now is that these socialist/communist Democrats actually have a big victory and can start to have their policies be pursued by local governments and even perhaps the federal government, because they really are looking at kind of a communist takeover of America. And if markets start to think that those people are going to be successful, then there's going to be a lot of pain in markets. And so I think that's the biggest risk right now.
Well, I think this is a great point that you make, frankly, okay?
You know, while Donald Trump is causing global disorder and chaos, while there's economic crises at home, this is what the Department of State is posting. You've asked for it and we delivered. Starting August 8th, apply for an American 250th commemorative passport at a passport agency near you with Donald Trump's face on it. Nobody's asking for it. What we're asking for is health care and the ability to afford a home. And when we work jobs, that we be paid with dignity. What we're asking for is no more never-ending wars. That's what we're asking for. And no more data centers, please. But Kevin Hassett says we need data centers in everybody's backyard. We need data centers across the United States. And for us to really realize that economic greatness, we need the data centers. They're good for towns. They're creating all of these jobs. Let's go data center. This has been a message pushed by the Trump regime for a very long time, and they're getting very aggressive. Data centers in everybody's backyard. Here, play this clip.
Because it's local officials, local selectmen and mayors and so on that are negotiating these deals. And they've been negotiating the deals, pretty generously in the sense that they've been happening all over the place because the data centers are very good for towns because they create so many jobs, bring people in with high incomes that could buy houses and stuff like that. And so if you take a sleepy town that hasn't really seen much in the last 20, 30 years and put a data center there, then they're going to be a whole bunch of happy residents in that town.
Yeah. But Kevin Hassett, what about the farmers that you've screwed over? There have been so many farmers who have gone bankrupt. You now have to bail out the farmers yet again. You've had multiple bailouts of farmers. The tariffs against the world, cutting off export markets to farmers, increasing input costs for farmers. Now the catastrophic war in Iran, causing fertilizer price to rise. It's a perfect tsunami that has crushed farmers. And Hassett's like, yeah, American farmers, they've had some tough breaks. But we got your back. And he tries to blame everything other than him and Donald Trump. They're the arsonists. And he just goes there and tries to blame everyone and everything. Here, play this clip.
I mean, you've been working on the farm bill. What do you want to leave us with as far as why the farm bill is so critical to get over the finish line?
Well, I think that America's farmers have had, some tough breaks. A bumper crop in Brazil made it so prices went down globally. The disruptions in the Gulf have made fertilizer prices go up. And it's really, really important that we help farmers. We get them the relief they need at this difficult time.
All right. We will leave it there. Kevin Hassett, great to see you. We so appreciate your time this morning.
Good to see you, Maria.
All right. Thank you.
I'm going to do another video on this morning. But as Donald Trump has been having this catastrophic morning, this is what he just posted. And he makes it clear that he still supports the taxpayer insurrectionist slush fund, where the United States government is forever barred from investigating him for tax evasion or tax fraud or auditing him, and where he doesn't have to pay his taxes because he filed a frivolous lawsuit for $10 billion against the federal government, which was time barred, frivolous. Even if it wasn't frivolous, the max damages you can get was $1,000. And here's what he says. He says, John Cornyn never had a problem with the so-called fund, which will not benefit me, but rather the great American patriots who were hunted down like dogs and whose lives were unfairly and illegally destroyed by the crooked Joe Biden administration until after I decided to endorse his Republican primary opponent. They are suffering still, many ruined, and I felt they should be given compensation for what has been done to them. I gave up payments for myself. No, you didn't. You waived all of your tax liability. This deal gives you billions of dollars in value. And he basically says he supports the fund and he's not going to agree to any written document that voids the fund for the January 6th insurrectionists or voids the fact that the government would be banned from doing audits on his taxes forever. And I'll show you in another video that I'm going to do. But you have Senator Tillis and Senator Cornyn say, "Great, well then we're not going to confirm Todd Blanche. We were trying to make this easy for you. Just put in 3 sentences in writing. We want it in writing because we don't trust you. That the slush fund and the super pardon that waives all tax audits into you is eliminated. But you refuse to do that. Okay, well then we're not going to confirm him." And so, of course, MAGA needs their distraction. They need their smoke and mirrors. So they continue to go after Fauci. They want to distract from Donald Trump's catastrophic war, which is a distraction from the cover-up of the child sex trafficking ring and the Epstein files, by bringing up 2020, the pandemic, and trying to act like Donald Trump did the greatest job during the pandemic and it was all Fauci's fault. But pay attention also, because this is their roadmap for the economic catastrophe, for the catastrophic war. This is what they want to do. They want to find their next scapegoat for all of this, because this is what losers do. This is how losers behave. Let me show you what Moreno did here. Let's play what he just said this morning. Let's play it.
That was me trying to be nice, Sean. The reality is this guy damaged a lot of things in this country. He set back children decades. He crushed small businesses, destroyed and sometimes killed seniors that had to die alone. He closed nursing homes, closed hospitals, had people fired, Sean. If you didn't take the vaccine because you didn't want to, you say, hey, look, I don't want to put something in my body that I don't believe in. They were fired. They were terminated from the military. Careers were shattered. And this guy sat there like a smug little SOB. And the reality is every night he'd go home and write in his diary how many people died. And then, oh, I got to meet Kim Kardashian. Or aren't I the sexiest man alive? Oh, I'm so important. This is one of the most depraved bureaucrats in American history.
Okay, in-person learning.
Now also you have Kim Jong-un sending warnings to Donald Trump as well. North Korea warns Donald Trump that a clash on the Korean peninsula is now a matter of timing. Kim Jong-un says we see the expansion of U.S. forces in Japan, and Kim Jong-un threatening basically nuclear war against the United States. Remember when Kim Jong-un didn't have nuclear weapons and he would do cruise and ballistic missile tests, and that was viewed by corporate news as like a sign of weakness for Obama? It's like, you can't stop him from doing cruise and ballistic missile tests. Meanwhile, Obama stopped Kim Jong-un from getting nuclear weapons. Trump allowed him to get nuclear weapons. Now he's just threatening, nuclear war with the United States. And it's just like, yeah, it's Donald. It's just Donald. That's Donald being Donald, everybody. And I also want to mention this. I talked about it in my 4 a.m. video, but in Ceuta, the Spanish city in North Africa, Ceuta, we're getting more and more video in of these Moroccan trucks. And it does appear that the Moroccan government brought the tens of thousands of individuals from Morocco to go into this Spanish town, the Spanish city of Ceuta, in order to cause lots of issues. Now, Donald Trump previously threatened Spain. We're going to get you back. Trump has threatened Pedro Sanchez. And so what I see behind what took place in Ceuta, again, just so you know, Northern Africa, there's the Strait of Gibraltar, you got Spain, you got Northern Africa, you got Morocco, you've got Algeria, and then right kind of nestled between Morocco and Algeria, you still have some of these Spanish territories, technically Ceuta, and a few others that are kind of right there. And so what appears to have happened is Morocco government, the dictator there, who's part of the Abraham Accords with Israel, and you have all these kind of Israeli ministers kind of mocking Pedro Sanchez, the prime minister of Spain, and also all these kind of right-wing, ultra-nationalist leaders in Europe also calling out Sanchez. And it just seemed to be this coordinated effort to literally bring the individuals from Morocco into this area, cause havoc, and then have Donald Trump and MAGA over here and all of these kind of international right-wing authoritarian movements use it as a talking point. So you have state regime media. Jackie Heinrich reached out to Trump, spoke with Trump this morning. He reacted to the migrants overrunning Ceuta in Spain. It's terrible. Remember that picture. This is how they run on elections. Remember that picture. That's going to be us in 3 years if the wrong side gets in. If the Democrats get in, you will never have a very good life. That's their tactic. Pay attention to it. Remember what Donald Trump said recently as well when he was speaking about Spain. Let me just play this clip for you right here so you can hear it for yourself.
The Spanish, they're members of NATO, but not very good members of NATO. They say, no, we don't want to help other people. What are we doing, huh? They are not behaving nicely, but they will learn. Soon after they relinquish their grip on Cuba and Guam, the Philippines, and Puerto Rico, and they were all ours. We got them all.
And now I also did a video this morning about how Donald Trump now says that he's unlikely to give Zelensky Patriot interceptor licenses, despite promising that he was going to give Zelensky Patriot interceptor licenses. We're also learning that when Zelensky was in DC, he asked Donald Trump to persuade Elon Musk to allow Starlink to be used for guiding Ukrainian drone strikes against ballistic missile launchers inside Russia. And Trump did not commit and says, I don't really know, unlikely to do that as well. Ukraine argues this would help offset shortages to the Patriot air defense interceptors which the U.S. previously promised. And now the U.S. isn't even going to give the license to Zelensky. And now you don't have the access to Starlink to stop the ballistic missile launchers from Russia, and you need the interceptors in order to stop the ballistic missile salvos coming in from Russia. Ukraine simply can't stop it, and Zelensky has warned of a very dark winter for Ukraine since they don't have the ability to intercept the Russian ballistics right now. I warned that this was going to be Donald Trump's thing. He was going to lure Zelensky in, pretend he was going to give him an interceptor license, create a dependency, and then say, actually, I'm not going to give it to you. And even worse, it's my opinion that he extracted information from Zelensky that he can then use to be helpful to Putin. I'm just giving you my opinion. So when everybody was like, oh, well, Donald Trump seems to have changed his tune on Zelensky. No, Trump's a liar. He doesn't do deals. He doesn't like Zelensky. Pay attention to the conduct, not the words, because he's a con artist. He's a fraud, and it's a regime of fraudsters. But I'll leave you with this video right here. This is the Wild Berries logistical facility in Volgograd in Russia that was hit by a Ukrainian FP2, FP1 or FP2 drone yesterday. Another Wild Berries logistical facility. Wild Berries is like the Amazon of Russia. And about 30 to 40% of their logistical facilities have been destroyed by Ukrainian drones. Let me leave you with this. Let's play it. There you have it, folks. We covered a lot this morning. We've got a lot of videos we're going to show you throughout the day. Keep you updated on all of these events. Have you got your copy of WTF America? That's the book I wrote with my brothers. It comes out in October, but pre-order it now. It's really helpful if you do the pre-order. It gets us critical data for how we need to, ultimately promote the book leading to its release in October. So please pre-order it now if you can. We're grateful for you. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you. Shout out Midas Mighty, and put in the comments WTF America if you pre-ordered, and let me know if you've bought multiple books for people. Tell me how many you bought for like family members and others. Thanks so much. We appreciate you.
Before you go, our book WTF America is available for pre-order now. It's the story of how we got here and how we fight our way back. To pre-order, scan the QR code or click the link in the description. Let's do this.